God, not that song. I had no choice in that selection. Anyway, thank you, John, very much, and thank you all for being here tonight and listening to me speak. I will first remark that it was wonderful to see all the young people up here on that stage, and I have to confess, what went through my mind was actually the motto in Latin, E pluribus unum, out of many, one. That's what struck me about the extraordinary young people that we had here up on this stage, showing who we are as a country, the incredible variety of people and all their different skills and backgrounds. It's a wonderful thing to see. Good for Scouting. I'm up here tonight to share a little bit of what it's sort of like to be, I guess, an explorer. I've been very privileged to have that title bestowed upon me, and it's kind of a great life. You need a lot of different skills to be an explorer. That's one thing I think Scouting is wonderful. It just was something that was never put in my path to do. So yeah, I spent the rest of my life trying to make up for it. So without further ado, let's talk about getting in the mind of an explorer and go on an exploration with me about how I did one of the explorations that I did in the deep ocean. And that's my wonderful submarine, the Limiting Factor, that I helped design and build over the course of 5 years and then dove it for another 4. Let's talk about the ocean. One of my favorite authors, Arthur C. Clarke, said how unusual it is to call this planet Earth when quite clearly it is ocean. That is a picture of planet Earth with the clouds removed. 71% of planet Earth is ocean. Now let's play a fun game. Imagine in your head, where is the average place on planet Earth? If you closed your eyes, thought about putting yourself at that place and then opened your eyes, what would you see and what would you feel? Well, it would be 6,500 feet underwater in freezing cold temperatures in complete blackness. That is the average elevation in place on planet Earth, but we never think about it that way. Someone mentioned this to me, and then I also heard that someone had tried to dive to the bottom of all 5 of the world's oceans, Sir Richard Branson. They chose some technology that wasn't going to work. And then I've been cursed. If there's any one explanation that explains why I've done all the very unusual things that I've done in my life, I was cursed with a slogan, 5 words, the 5 most dangerous words in the English language, which I've always taken to heart, which are, how hard could it be? So, Sir Branson wasn't able to do the 5 dives, as he called them, so I said, how hard could it be? We've gone down to the bottom of the ocean twice before, in 1960, and then director James Cameron in 2012. They never did it again. You know, why not? Sure, we could build this up to go all around the world. And this was the plan. And that's what it starts with. You know what? Why not have audacious goals in life? We're not here very long. If you fail, you fail. Don't be afraid to try. Try and do audacious things. I'm saying that mainly to the younger people in the room especially, because the older folks, they've given up. But you don't have to give up. You can have audacious goals and go for them. So this was the plan, to go to the bottom of all 5 of the world's oceans in 10 months with a custom designed submersible that could do it repeatedly and safely with 2 people on board, if necessary. Over the next 4 years, this is what my ship and my crew did. We went around the world twice. And it was an extraordinary adventure. We went all over the place, headquartered pretty much in Guam at the Challenger Deep, and I was fortunate enough to go down there many, many times. This is the submarine. It looks like a stuffed pillowcase, I've been told, but it looks that way because it was designed to go up and down in the water, not sideways like a conventional submarine. It doesn't have to be fast. So the first lesson is design something to do what it's meant to do. Specialize it and do nothing else. And stick to tight requirements. 2-person submersible, thrusters, it's perfect at what it did. And that's what it looked like on its dive. But the difference between a submarine and a submersible is that a submersible needs something to carry it around the world. So I bought a former Navy vessel, the Indomitable, and renamed it the Pressure Drop. Could carry 50 people, and it was designed to hunt Russian submarines in the Cold War, which made it perfect for trying to talk to a submersible 7 miles down in the water. We went around the world. That's it being launched off the stern of the ship, off the coast of Puerto Rico, where we did our first major dive. And yes, we had to dodge icebergs when we went to the Southern Ocean to actually dive the deepest point there. But it doesn't happen without the crew. When you're operating at the jagged edge of technology and a little bit of risk, anything and everything can go wrong. What fixes things that go wrong? Not the machines themselves. It takes people to do it. And it takes people with an extraordinary level of skills. And I kept hearing up here people talk about teamwork and leadership, something that the Scouts do in spades. You have to have that to get through the very difficult times. This is one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen. This is South Georgia Island, where Sir Ernest Shackleton was buried. We paid homage to him. I poured some whiskey on his grave, which is traditional, and then we went and dove in the Southern Ocean, which is one of the most ferocious oceans I've ever experienced. We actually had a collision between the submersible and the ship in that ocean. It's so rough. So, one of the things that I discovered early on, because things happen when you try and do extreme exploration, I found out about 6 months before we started that we actually didn't know where the bottom of 4 of the world's oceans were. Not exactly. And I was like, oh, well, we have Wikipedia. I thought it was on Google Maps, right? It's on Google Maps, isn't it? And my chief geologist, Heather Stewart of Britain, said, actually, no, it's like plus or minus about 50 miles. If you want to dive to the bottom of all 5 of those oceans, you're going to have to map it. And you need, I asked her, what do we need? She said, you need the most powerful sonar ever put on a civilian vessel. So I bought one. And we put it on the ship. It was serial number 1. And we ended up getting to test it the whole time. But we debugged it and we were able to map the seafloor. One cool thing about mapping the seafloor, especially when you go around the world twice, you start mapping all sorts of things no one has ever seen before. And you know what? Here's a dirty secret of exploration. If you map something in a really detailed way, and especially if you go there, you get to name it. This was a massive underwater mountain that we found in the Pacific Ocean, and a group of seamounts that are named after famous composers. I love classical music, and I discovered no one had ever named a seamount after my favorite. So that is now the Bach Seamount. So yeah, there's some fun things to do. Okay, things we did over the 4 years of diving all over the world. We went in 17 deep ocean trenches. I was fortunate enough to go to the Challenger Deep, the deepest point in the Mariana Trench at 11,000 meters. The conditions there are abominable. 16,000 pounds per square inch, freezing cold water, corrosive salt water, but we had a craft and a team that could make it work. So I was able to do 15 dives to the Challenger Deep over 4 years. We mapped over 3 million square kilometers of the seafloor. That's 1% of the seafloor. And we donated it to the organization that accepts that and publishes it for Google and other people. There's an area greater than Western Europe. We got to name 60 new seafloors. I did not get to name it after my dogs, although I tried. They shot that down, and instead I had to name it after certain geographic areas around where we found them. And we also, just to prove what the submersible could do, we discovered the 2 deepest shipwrecks in history. And they were, I was very proud, they were US Navy vessels that went down in 1944 during a battle of Leyte Gulf, one of the most ferocious surface engagements of World War II, and we were able to find those wrecks. That was very exciting. This is what it's like when you get to go out and explore the world and map it. This is the Mariana Trench, the deepest point, and we were able to map it at a certain level of resolution that had never been done before, and of course identify where the absolute deepest point was. And we were able to share this with the scientific community. Why does anyone care? Well, 75% of the seafloor is completely and utterly unexplored. If you multiply that by the ocean being 71% of the planet, more than half of planet Earth is still completely and utterly unexplored. We have complete maps of the moon and Mars, but we do not of our own planet. So to all the scouts out there, if you're looking for exploration, that's one place to start. Problem is, it's really hard, but that should not deter you. How do you take a selfie on the bottom of the ocean? Well, you build robots that can go all the way to the bottom of the ocean with you. You drop them down first. They act as nice navigation beacons. They take scientific measurements, and they can also take a picture of you and your sub. And there you are. And those are creatures at the very bottom of the ocean, 11,000 meters down, feeding. People describe the bottom of the ocean as completely and utterly lifeless. It is not. It is teeming with life. It's just very specialized and quite small.